A Less Than Royal Narcissist, Part 31. I thought I would delve back in time a little for this instalment to provide you with a useful example of the difference between the behaviour of a narcissist and that of an empathic person. Back in June 2018, Meghan Markle had recently married Prince Harry, and she attended her first trooping of the colour. In the course of this event, Field Marshal the Lord Guthrie, part of the trooping the colour, fell from his horse and landed heavily on his head as he rode outside Buckingham Palace during trooping the colour, when temperatures hit 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 23 degrees centigrade. At the time, Field Marshal the Lord Guthrie, 79 years old, and he was rushed to hospital after being treated at the scene by paramedics. This individual, the Field Marshal Lord Guthrie, is a man of significant integrity, a man who has had an illustrious career in the British Army, rose through the ranks, and not only is a thoroughly decent individual, but commands massive respect from the individuals that he deals with. And as such as his dedication and his sense of duty, that he was involved at the time in the trooping of the colour to participate, and suffered a fall from a horse. Now, those of you that have ridden horses will know that being thrown from one is no joke, and even falling from one when it is just trotting along can result in injury, certainly if you happen to land on a hard surface such as asphalt or concrete. Lord Guthrie was the Chief of Army General Staff from 1994 to 1997 and the Chief of Defence Staff from 1997 until he retired in 2001. His service record in the SAS, and as he still serves as the ceremonial Colonel of the Life Guards, is one that any soldier would be rightly proud of. He began his military career back in 1959, joining the SAS in 1966. He then returned to the Welsh Guards in 1970, and then he was promoted all the way through the ranks until he ran the whole army from 1994. He was appointed an officer of the Order of the British Empire in 1980 and Knight Commander of the Order of the Bath in 1990. He has served in major conflicts and has masterminded military operations in Northern Ireland and provided advice to the British government during the Bosnian War and the Kosovo War. He is a man of substantial integrity. He is a man who is principled and has made numerous difficult decisions in the name of defending his country. He's a man that would, of course, many would regard as somebody who would deserve and command particular respect for what he has achieved and what he has continued to do. Now, I spent a little time detailing this man's illustrious career to give you a flavour of the type of individual that he is, one that has been dedicated by service to assisting others, and no matter what your view might be with regard to those within the armed services, the fact is that those individuals put themselves on the line in order to ensure that other people do not have to. And for that, respect is appropriate. Have a look at the picture that accompanies this video. You will see a picture of two famous women, the Duchess of Cambridge and Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. That picture was taken when Field Marshal the Lord Guthrie slid from his horse and cracked his head on the concrete of the road beneath him. And this encapsulates a very useful snapshot of the response of an empathic person versus that of a narcissist. Look at the Duchess of Cambridge. The expression in her eyes is one of concern. Hand raised to her mouth. Alarm writ large across her face. I, as an individual absent of emotional empathy, have learned to recognize the facial expression that is expressed there, and you would agree with me that that is an individual that is expressing concern. That is an instinctive, knee-jerk response to what she is witnessing. And what drives that? Emotional empathy. You see, a narcissist might be able to conjure up a similar look to that of the Duchess of Cambridge, but it would be slightly slower, as the imitation game is embarked upon, and the narcissist seeks to locate the relevant response, possibly the words, the body language, the gesture, the facial expression, for the purposes of displaying cognitive empathy. Of course, some narcissists, those of the lesser school, do not operate with cognitive empathy, and therefore would either not react at all, or react in an inappropriate fashion which isn't linked. The Duchess of Cambridge clearly has emotional empathy, and she sees Field Marshal Lord Guthrie fall from his horse, and that is her reaction. That is not a reaction that is part of a facade. She's not doing it in order to cause people to think that she cares. This instantaneous reaction demonstrates that she operates through feeling, i.e., there is the presence of emotional empathy. Now, let's turn to Meghan Markle next to her. Hand raised to the mouth, but not clasped in anguish, but rather to obscure what's going on underneath, which, as you can see from the eyes and the positioning of the mouth that hasn't been covered by the fingers, is a clear smirk or laugh at the misfortune of Lord Guthrie. The Duchess of Cambridge is concerned, driven by her emotional empathy. The response of Meghan Markle is to find a 79-year-old man falling from his horse and injuring himself amusing. Why? Because she has no emotional empathy. And in that instant, the cognitive empathy which she does possess wasn't able to come to her rescue quick enough, and resulted in her laughing, smirking at the misfortune of another individual, and attempting to cover it up with her hand. There was no protestation of anguish, because the narcissism didn't operate quick enough, and instead the absence of emotional empathy is captured in this snapshot. On the left-hand side, the Duchess of Cambridge exhibiting her emotional empathy. On the right-hand side, the Duchess of Sussex exhibiting the absence of emotional empathy. Yes, it is just a photograph, but it is an excellent snapshot of the operation of emotional empathy to an event and the response of two differing individuals. Of course, there'll be those that say it was a nervous laugh. Why? You're with people that you know. You're not actually in a position where you should be feeling nervous. It's not like you're having to make a speech. Yes, you're on display, but you're not the only individual on display. And there are occasions, of course, where individuals may laugh as a consequence of being nervous, but this is not such a situation. What we see here is a clear absence of emotional empathy, and it is a useful way of seeing that in this instance, the exposure of the narcissist. This was, of course, 2.5 years ago. But it serves a purpose again to demonstrate, for those that remain unpersuaded as to the status of who Meghan Markle is, that there is so much evidence that supports it, that one could go on and on and on, identifying various instances, the engagement interview, for example, the various behaviours demonstrated in that, the other matters that have been reported on, both privately and also in the public eye, about the behaviours. There is a rich tapestry from which to select various instances. And I continue to do so, either with historic ones or those as they arrive with this ongoing fluid situation, to continue to enable to understand what is occurring. But there you have it, captured in a picture, the difference between somebody exhibiting emotional empathy and somebody without it. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.